Yo, welcome to Sig Slayers, the comic interview show, period. I'm Mike the Sig Slayer, chilling with Mark the Honorable Villain. What up, fam?
What's up, Mike? We have a strong talent with us today, man. This guy has the best watercolors in the game. Let me know who we got, man.
That is right. We have superstar artist Dustin Nguyen joining us. But before we chat with Dustin, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please comment. All right. Our next guest is one of the heavyweight painters in the game. Two-time Eisner Award winner for his work in Descender, but you've seen him in Batman, Detective Comics, The Authority, American Vampire. Ladies and gentlemen of the Stash Land, we bring to you superstar artist Dustin Nguyen. What up, fam? How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on here.
Hey, man, we are glad to have you. We're excited. We're going to just dive right on in, Dustin. So since it's your first time joining us, we like to get your comic book origin story. In other words, how did you get your first gig in pro comics?
Pretty much did like what most people did back then. I did a portfolio review at San Diego Comic-Con, skipped around Chicago. At the time, there was only Chicago and San Diego. San Diego in the summer, Chicago in the spring sometime, maybe. I thought it was maybe in the fall. They changed it a while. It was way back then, you know what I mean? The late 90s. And I just put together a portfolio every month, went there, try to get in line. Sometimes, it was kind of hard. I had a good group of friends that went with me, supported like my little cousins and some friends from the area. And we, portfolio back then was, it was a raffle ticket. So there's a few times they just faked raffle tickets, and I had like 12 people get raffle tickets just so I could get a chance. And so they all pitched in to help me. You know what I mean? It was like it took a village to get and then by that time I had shown to a few different editors. It got to a point where they're like, go see, that editor. And then I would be like, I already saw him. So pretty much they were just sick of seeing me walk around there with a portfolio all day. I finally got the attention of John Layman. He's the creator of the book Chew. John Layman called me, left a message on my house at my apartment with all my studio friends. I was living with 6 other dudes that were all trying to break into comics. It was just a living room full of drawing tables. We just, some guys didn't live there, some lived there. I lived there. It was just like a house where everyone just trying to break into comics. And the message came and left on the answering machine. Back then we had answering machines, And it felt good, man. It felt like something to brag about, Like, did you hear that? But and then he's like, hey, are you like a page a day guy? And I was like, yeah, of course. I was not. So it took me like a month to do 3 pages. He's like, all right, well, if you come in Monday, can you bring in 3 new pages and we'd like to check it out? And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. And it was horrible. I had to cram that weekend. 3 horrible pages came in. He looked at it, and you could tell he was kind of unsure, but then he gave me a shot. So Scott Doombeer was the head of Wildstorm at the time in editorial. And Scott Doombeer, John Layman kind of gave me my first gig. It was Jet 10-page mini-series. It was a mini-series. I did 10 pages in there. So that was my first, kind of like story going. But at the same time, I actually got my first gig was doing was also through DC for a magazine called Milk Magazine. Basically, it's about milk. And I did like a puzzle in there. I did like a crossword puzzle with Batman in it. So my first professional work was already Batman. So I already, knocked that go down. But it was fun. It was Ron Peraza hired me for that, and George Bruning was my hiring project director. And if no one knows who George Bruning is, you've seen his work. So can you guys know who he is or no?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Richard. I don't know why I'm shortening to George. It's Richard Bruning. Richard Bruning. So you've seen his work, and I can guarantee you've seen his work. He designed the San Diego Comic-Con logo with the eye.
Oh, okay.
That's Richard Bruning.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he was
iconic.
So iconic, man. That piece never goes away, Like there's a lot of people out there design a lot of stuff that no one knows. Like head editorial at Wildstorm Comics He was head of Vertigo at one point. His name's Hank Canals. He was the one that designed the image logo, the eye. So
Okay.
there's a lot of behind the scenes, and I actually designed there was a point where Wildstorm had this thing called the Eye of the Storm, where it was like the Wildstorm run, and that logo with the WS that's me. I designed that logo. So
Well, okay, so it's perfect segue because I wanted to talk about Wildstorm next, and I believe Wildstorm, and you're kind of hitting on it a little bit right now. Major unsung heroes in comics, and just tons of just tidbits of just knowledge and just developmental things from even all the way down from the coloring and technology being incorporated in comics on a whole scale. What was your experience like working at Wildstorm, and how did Wildstorm impact your career?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna walk and get some coffee right now. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, Wildstorm. I would say I got really lucky with Wildstorm because a lot of people, they start out in comics and they get thrown into immediate deadlines or something that's just a little bit more than they can handle. But going to Wildstorm, I didn't come in as an intern, and I didn't come in as a full-blown professional. I came in as just like, this is a new job. So they kind of like slowly eased me into it. I started out with like short stories, like 10 pagers, miniseries, and they tried different inkers on me to see which one worked. So I got really kind of like I wasn't an intern, but I got very kind of just like babied in, so there's a term they use, they're called house raised. So there's like maybe 2 artists that I know that DC kind of considers house raised. Basically, we came from Wildstorm and progressed to DC, and now we're just like diehard DC artists. It would be me and Lee Bermejo, who's 10-fold. He's amazing. He's on another level. That guy's insane. But when I started there, Lee was already there, and he was kind of like my first, I would say the first person that kind of opened me up to seeing art the way it was. Because I've always was into artists. I knew I liked a certain look. I knew I liked a certain style, but I never knew their name. I never really cared to look. Lee was the one that pointed out. He's like, that's George Zaffino. That's Mike Mignola. That's Paul Pope. So he was kind of like the one that I would like look at. Okay, oh shit, I didn't know that. So. But I got lucky with Wildstorm. At the time, I was like, either I was gonna go with Wildstorm or Top Cow, because I was in California and I applied to both. So I would either be driving. I was living in Long Beach. I would either be driving north to LA for Top Cow or south to San Diego. But I love both companies. Top Cow, I had some really good friends there. You know what I mean? A lot of the artists that are coming in time, like Francis Manipul started there. He's a very close personal friend of mine. But I got lucky. I got into Wildstorm, and it was a familiar drive, because that's also the drive to San Diego Comic-Con. Yeah. So I would drive in every day.
From Long Beach to
it'd be a 4-hour commute every day, back and forth.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Brutal, man. Dustin, you're one of the best watercolor artists in the game. Where did that passion come from? Who were some of your influences growing up as a young painter?
I actually, there's a little imposter syndrome involved in there. Like, I almost feel like I'm just coloring in watercolor. I don't feel like I actually know how to paint, because I actually didn't start painting watercolor until I started drawing comics. It was one of those like trial. They're like, I was on Wildcats, and I kind of messed around with it on some of the covers, but I didn't really know how to do it. And then I got to DC, and then I asked them, can I paint my covers? And my editor there, Mike Martz, amazing editor. He's the reason him and Abernathy were the reason I actually watercolor or even attempted color. When you ask someone to do it and they just have faith in you, they're like, yeah, go for it, Those are the 2 editors. Which one?
Ben Abernathy?
Ben Abernathy.
Okay.
Who's now my editor over at Skybound. So he's holding the reins for, Transformers and stuff. So it's a perfect job for him, because he's a total 80s kid, you know what I mean? Like, we're like, he was also my my editor on Wildcats, the first ongoing series I had. So we go way back, But yeah, I actually didn't know anything about coloring or painting. I picked that up when I worked at Stanley Media. I worked at Stanley Media for about 6 months, and I got to work next to an artist named Jerry Bingham, who was my he was my hero. You know what I mean? Like I went there. He did Batman: Son of Demon. My first.
Yeah, Son of the Beam. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, he created Damian. You know, he created Damian Wayne. And first time I saw him, he came in. We were working in the Skunk Works department, where it was just Stan Lee had a whole department of other artists. You know, but I got stuck in the Skunk Works department, which just means there was just 3 people, and we would just do R&D. Basically, we just make up shit all day, and most of the time we didn't even work. I just came in and I met Jerry Bingham. He just came in every day. He brought his oil paint, and then he saw my work, and he's like, "Whoa, dude, you don't know how to draw." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, it kind of hurt. He was my hero, you know. And he just said, "You don't know how to draw." And I'm like, "That's my style." And he's like, "That's not a style, Dustin. That's a lack of knowledge." And I was just, it hurt. And because the time I was a big fan of Joe Madureira and Travis Charest. Yeah. And I wanted to combine the two, and it didn't look. You can't combine the two; they're totally different styles. I was drawing like people with broken fingers, looking like manga, and Jerry was like, "Yeah, you can't draw." He's like, and I was hurt. I was like, I was mad. At that age, I was just like kind of full of it, and I was like, then I finally eased up to it, and I was like, "Well, tell me what I need." He's like, "How about this? You show me how to use Photoshop, and I'll show you how to draw and paint in watercolor." Or he said paint. And then, because I was like, he's like, "What kind of coloring do you want to learn?" And at the time, I was really big in Travis Charest stuff, and I noticed Travis was using a lot of colored pencil, and I was like, but the thing is, Travis used it because he likes it. Travis knows how to paint, And I told him, I was like, "I want to learn colored pencil." And Jerry's like, "No." He's like, "No." He's like, "Learn." He's like, "If you want to make money, learn to paint." He's like, the drawn line will be, your art will always sell. Your art will always be what gets your idea across, like drawing, illustration. It'll get your idea across. If you want to start making money, start painting your own work, And I was like, all right. So he's tried to teach me acrylic and stuff, but then I was living, when I started Wildstorm, I was living in my car. I was pretty much homeless. And the few studios that I stayed with, we had like very limited space to work in, So watercolor was the perfect choice for me. Like you could work on a little small space. I would, at the time I would like paint in the library. I would go to UC Irvine Library, Barnes and Nobles, wherever my girlfriend was. And I just, work in there at the time. It was the only time I had a table because I was kind of living in my car. I was working at a few different contract jobs just to make ends meet. And so it was like the first thing. I would come into, Stanley Media sometimes, just odd hours of the day, just till I can raid there. Because they had a full kitchen with chefs and shit. It was great. They wanted to be like Google. That's probably what bankrupted them a lot. So, and then when I started Wildstorm, I would go there, even though I would go there during normal hours, I would go there probably like 11 at night because I didn't have a place to sleep. So I would go there and I sleep on the Wildstorm couch, and I'd wake up in the morning and start drawing with people, and then go home, drive back to my contract job, my other job, and just hang out with I helped out my cousins and stuff. So watercolor was like the perfect choice for me to learn to paint and work in a small space. And I felt really comfortable for it over a while. I have to be honest, I was more into painting back then than I am now. Nowadays, I'm falling back in love with like just a pencil. Like I love line work. I love like just the roughness. So right now, trying to figure out what I want to do next, how I want to approach the next book, So yeah.
Dustin,
I don't know if that went around your question. I don't know.
I got to follow up. I'm let Mark go though. We're coming back.
Dustin, you talked about being a homegrown Wildstorm DC artist, but you've also dabbled with a little work for Marvel. Was there any difference between how the two companies operated based on your experience?
I had only been with Marvel probably just a little bit because I was exclusive with DC for like 14, 13 years before I was working with Marvel.
Yeah.
Day to day is the same, I mean, it depends on editor you work with. Both sides have excellent editors, you know what I mean? There's like, I've never worked with an editor that I didn't like. Actually I have. And I just ended that real quick, I just be like, oh, this doesn't work. And I don't really, they're people, they go and do their job, But most of my editors that work, well, not most, but a few of my editors that got me over at Marvel was because they worked at DC before and I knew them there. There was a point where in the middle of my contract, I was supposed to go to Marvel. This is during the Marvel DC exclusive talent wars that I like to call it in early 2000, where I was exclusive to DC and Marvel approached me and said, "Hey, whatever, we want you to come to Marvel. Whatever DC's offering you, will double it, and you tell us what you want to do." And it was like a really good offer. I thought it was like, I first thought about, I was like, this is great. This is how you make money. You jump around. It was like, and I kind of was really, I was like, it felt good. It felt good to be wanted. So I talked to, I drove down to Wildstorm, talked to Jim Lee. And Jim was very supportive. He's like, "Hey, you're about to have a family. This is important. This is good money, And then we talked to Scott Doombeer, and he's like, yeah. And he's like, it sounds okay. Let's see what DC has to say about it. So I was at Wildstorm. We had lunch, came back. Then we called the New York office, DC New York office, and said, talk to Dan DiDio, and told Dan, "Hey, this is what Marvel's offering me, blah blah blah." And Dan's like, he just laughed. He's like, "No." He's like, What are you doing, Dustin? No. He's like, "No, you're not going to Marvel." And he's like, "I don't care how much they're offering you. You're not going there." And I was like, "Well," and then he's like, "Well, what do you want?" I was like, "I don't really care about the money at the time." I was like, "Money's good," but it's like, I just want to draw Batman. Because I've drawn Batman before, but I had the itch to draw again because he's the only book I really enjoy drawing sometimes, And Dan's like, "Okay, you got it. You got Batman. What else do you want?" And I was like, "Can you make sure I get to draw all the covers to my own book?" Because that's important for me to represent my own work out there. And Dan said, "No, I can't give you that. I can't give you that in contract, but I can give you a handshake deal. As long as I'm in the office working here and you're on a book on DC, you will always get to do your own cover. But I can't put that in a contract because we have too many crossovers, we have too many tie-ins. It's kind of hard sometimes to make that work." And I understood it, and he kept his word. So ever since then, every book I did my own cover, which I felt was very important for my career because you want to get represented because it's what's on newsstands, it's what people see,
Yeah.
So I went back and I took the DC deal, and I've been there ever since. And I really love the editors I work with and stuff. So it makes it easy, And then after the contract was over, I went to Image, but still, we jump back and forth. Like Jeff Lemire and I, we jump back and forth. We do one for us, one for them. And Jeff says it pretty funny. He's like, "Yeah, Dustin loves drawing creator, but every few years he has the itch to draw Batman. So that's why I'm back here again, drawing Robin and Batman Volume 2. That's out this month." So,
so Dustin, you mentioned, I think this is the first time I actually asked this question. What's the dynamic like working with an editor? Like, what is the editor's job in your role when you make comics? What's that communication like? What are they? What's their function as it relates to your role?
Honestly, it depends on the book, and it depends on the editor, and it depends on you. If you're like a new artist or someone that they're not familiar working with and stuff, they will, they're like, "Hey, can you send in layouts? Can you send in roughs? Can we see these?" But if you have a track record of always turning your books in on time, drawing things exactly, correct, what you're doing and stuff, they kind of leave you alone. Like my dynamic with all my editors now is they just tell me what they like. They give me a deadline, then I see them in a month. Like I would turn in stuff in between, but because I paint my own stuff, it's more difficult to turn in stuff on consistently because I'll draw it and then I gotta wait and I gotta paint it. And then, so the way they work is usually, you have the penciler, you ink it, and then you color it. So that's 3 different steps for 3 different people but if you're doing it all yourself, sometimes I have to hold on to the pages. I just show them the pencils and then I don't show them I can't show them the colors until I'm done painting everything. So, but I would say the editor, it's really important to have an editor, especially if you're working on a company as big as DC, because for example, Batman, he's probably in 5-10 different books a month, right? So they got to make sure that he's in the right place and it makes sense in the timeline and they're consistent. So that's pretty important. With Image, because it's creator owned, you need to provide your own. They have a reader that helps make sure everything's grammatically correct and printed right, but you don't have an editor. So for me, books like Descender, Little Monsters, Jeff has an editor. Jeff has someone that reads and helps them, make sure everything's kind of correct and spell check and stuff and makes sense. But myself as an artist, for Image, I just don't have an editor. turn in stuff, and if they see something that needs, they're like, hey, this panel doesn't line up with this. Can you? Then I just go back and change it and stuff. But we hold each other accountable. We do the checks and balance, kind of like the government.
Right.
Jeff turns in a great script. I draw it. We send it up, and it gets printed. It's fucking simple as hell, dude. Like when I work in image, it was just, I was like, dude, this is going back to high school where I'm just hanging out with my friends and just drawing it, and then we put a staple in it, and it's out. Yeah, in high school, me and my friends talked about doing a comic book, and we wanted to call it Death Row Comics, which is so stupid. We were obsessed with Dr. Dre. We were obsessed with like freaking, Dog Pound. Like it was just crazy.
That was back
we were like, yeah, we're gonna call it Death Row Comics. It was stupid, but yeah, it's fun. When I'm working in an image, it's just. We just joke around, we just draw, and it gets printed. It's kind of funny. It amazes me how easy it is, So.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this next question. I think you gave me the perfect alley-oop. Let's talk about the ones that you do for yourself, your image work, Descender and Ascender. What was your process in developing the world of Descender?
The process is, I would say, creating it was heavily. I would say I would lean on Jeff a lot. Jeff would come up with the synopsis of how the book is, what it is, and he comes up with a Bible. Mm-hmm. And his Bible pretty much says, like for Descender, when we first got the Bible, it's very much an outline of this is this planet. This is how things are done on this planet. This is what people eat, talk, and behave like. Here's the landscape, the terrain, the classes, there's heavily middle class, maybe they're rich, maybe they're poor, a lot of roads, stuff like that. And he never really describes things visually. He describes how things are. Like with Telsa and Driller and stuff, he would never he keeps it. It's a great way to collaborate in design. He doesn't really say what the characters kind of look like. He says how they behave, where they're from, and stuff. And then from that, reading that, it grows in my mind what they should look like sometimes. And it's the reason I've been working with Jeff so long is because it's eerie how well we click. Because if you look at a character like, say, Driller, I was in Alaska. I was on some cruise boat in Alaska when I read the first script, and I was just coming up with ideas of what Driller would look like, his color scheme, and it was all this. And then finally we did it, and he's what he is now. You see, he's he's an orange guy with the joints and stuff. And then we were probably 6 issues in, and Jeff went back to the farm he grew up in Essex County or wherever he grew up in Canada, And, he grew up kind of on a farm, made his own toys and everything. You could tell he's very Canada, out in the area. And he found a toy, and he made himself a robot. And he sent me the picture of it. It's an orange robot, bulky, with the joints exactly like Driller. And I looked at it, we both kind of got chills. We're like, this is insane. He's never told me what Driller looked like, and I made Driller look like that. And I've never seen the toy that he made when he was a child. And I was like, this is how we kind of click, on the same level, you know what I mean? So it's great working with Jeff because when I read his scripts, I just instantly click. Yeah.
So Dustin, you worked with Jeff on the few creator projects, Ascender, Descender, Little Monsters, but you're also working with him on Robin and Batman, and now Robin and Batman Jason Todd. There's no Bible for Robin and Batman. Are you guys working more with detailed scripts, or is it more plot centric? Is it similar to how you guys are doing your creative own stuff?
No, Jeff writes a full script, and it's great. I get it, and it's complete. I don't have to worry about anything. There's no, I would say that Batman doesn't really need a Bible. He's been around so long. His characters have been around so long, and a lot of stuff, even when I was doing Little Gotham, it was Little Gotham was one of the easiest stories to write for me because Batman has been around so long that it's pretty much at this point, it's pretty much just fan fiction for us, especially for me, we're just fans of the character. We have such a rich history in it that you could just pull from different parts and write it. You know what I mean? Of course, Jeff, when he writes it, it's he has his own approach to it. He has his brand. It's everyone's kind of sad and dying, dude. It's but I love it. We have Tim Drake. The plan is also Tim Drake. It's a trilogy. Originally, when Ben Abernathy had his pitch it. Ben Abernathy was actually my editor on the first book. He's over at Skybound now, but he's the one that kind of greenlit everything. And yeah, it's a trilogy. So we're doing, after we wrap up Robin and Batman, Jason Todd. I mean, we've already wrapped it up. We're taking a break. We're going back to Image for another 2 years, and then we'll come back and do Tim Drake in another 2 years. So yeah, but as far as writing, dude, there's nothing to do with me. Like when you work with a writer like Jeff, I mean, what are you gonna do? You know, it's like there's no need to like for any changes. We literally have no notes anytime that he turns things in. You know, so
another fantastic writer that you worked with, Paul Dini. You got a chance to work with him. Was one of the few artists to work exclusively with him for some years. With the Detective Comics and the Streets of Gotham. Yeah. Reflect back on that era of Batman, especially this being such an important character to work on.
Yeah, it was that was like one of my, like, you know, when you have a checklist of goals to get into comics, mine was, you know, draw Batman black and white story, write and draw my own Batman black and white story, get a statue, and then work with Paul Dini. And that was like the checklist. And when I got to work with Paul Dini, it's insane. Just getting his script and reading it. It was, every script read like another episode of, like, you know, the animated series, but it felt special because it felt like I got it before everyone else, you know. I was like, yeah, this is mine, you know. And then just drawing it was just, working with Paul is just amazing. Like the way he works with the Bat universe, the Gotham characters, like he knows them in and out. So it's like when he dictates it or when he writes it, it's almost like I have no questions, like, because I grew up on the animated series. So it's for him to get a script from him, there's never a question of what he's doing, why he's doing it. You know, it's almost like that's the Bible. Like when he starts writing Batman, that's the Bible, you know. And yeah, it was amazing. So
so it was just as good for you as it was for us.
Dude, it was, I would say I got the better end of the deal, you know. It's like, because sometimes things are just more pure when you read the script, you know. I see it in my mind. Sometimes I can't draw it as well as I want it in my mind in the script, you know. So it's almost better for me than you guys. So, you know.
So Dustin, not only have you worked with Paul Dini, you've worked with Judd Winnick, Ed Brubaker, Denny O'Neil, Alan Burnett, Scott Snyder, some superstar writers.
Yeah.
They put you in
Brian Q. Miller too in there. It's like I got very lucky, you know what I mean?
But they've all put you in different situations, from sci-fi to horror, superhero to noir. What's your favorite genre to work in artistically?
You know, like I like to say that I don't have a favorite genre because I like drawing everything, but I think I'm most comfortable in sci-fi, and like the world of Descender was perfect for me. I just love the otherworldly. I don't like, it's like when I worked on Wildcats 3.0, I loved it because, you know, I got to, it was a masterclass for myself in drawing gestures and storytelling and drawing the everyday mundane, you know. But it's also, I think if I had to do it now, it would be very difficult for me because my attention is not all, like, I have a very short attention span. And if I'm working on something that I'm not, like, you know, I don't feel like I'm powerful or strong enough at, I kind of lose my attention. And today, I don't think I'm very good at drawing the everyday, like I could never draw a book like Spider-Man, you know, like buildings and walking through kitchens and going to convenience stores and swinging through the cities. Like, I'm not really like, it's hard for me to draw things on reference, you know. It's like, that's why I'm a horrible artist when it comes to drawing like licensed products. Like when they asked me to draw, like I did a cover for Supernatural, and it was amazing that they even approved those stuff because I don't draw a good likeness. I don't draw like good realism. And so, and it's really hard for me to draw like, just, I wouldn't say good, but it's like I get bored drawing normal things, you know? So when I get to draw space worlds, you know, with monsters and spaceships and robots and shit, that's where I kind of like, you know, find my fun. And nowadays it's like my attention span is so short, whereas like if I'm not having fun doing it, I really don't want to do it, which is why, you know, I rarely take commissions or anything. It's just if I don't have fun doing it, I was like, I'd rather go hang out with my kids, you know? So
yeah, hey, I feel that, man. Okay, so we're kind of heading into the art process, and we kind of talked about that, and I told you we're going to circle back on it, and this is a perfect segue. So first off, I want to get, what is your art process? What's your steps to laying out a page? Are you doing things digital? Is everything still traditional? How do you start from that blank page onto something?
I start out with here. I can actually show. This is an old script. So I print out scripts like this. This is a script for Jeff Lemire's Robin and Batman issue. Oh, this is the last one, issue 3. So it could be something simple. So I break it down. I go through it. I still do everything by pencil and everything. So without showing too much, like it's very simple. Like if you look at here, this is a breakdown of one of the grids. It's really simple. Sometimes like I don't even know what I'm drawing. So if I don't feel like drawing or something, I just like right here it says gross mode stains. That's like a note to me to make sure there's a lot of texture on that one panel, you know. I just lay down thumbnails like this, and that helps me with the storyboarding, the flow. That's actually my most fun part is working out the flow of the story, because as much as I love drawing and doing covers and posts, it's like storytelling. That's like paneling. That's where I feel like I'm either the strongest or I have the most fun. And if I have the most fun, I feel stronger. But I break it down and then I'll move on to a board like this. This is for painted pages. This is a cover for Gotham Academy I'm doing. And when I see something cool,
yes,
this is what. Then I pencil in. This is the pencil. I don't know if you can tell. This is Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yes, I can.
Yeah. So that's another cover I'm working on for IDW. And then once I get that down, I'll start penciling. And once it gets to a good point where I know where everything is, I'll put it aside, make sure. Then I'll gather like 10, 12 pages of the same scene. And then I start painting it. I'll start painting it, especially within the same scene, because like say if you look in the Robin and Batman, there's a scene where it switches from the Batcave to outside. So if I'm in the Batcave, I'll paint all the scenes in the Batcave. I'll make sure I'm painting at night during the day. I'll make sure I'll do it in one run so that the palette stays the same throughout because it's easy to paint one page, one poster, but you know, you got to give it up for colorists. Like after doing this, I don't think I'm just, you got to give the props to the colorists, man. It's like, you know, like coloring one page, one pinup is, yeah, anyone can do it. To make it consistently read like a normal book throughout the thing, it's a lot of work. And so it's something I learned that, you know, I got to appreciate the colorists for doing it, you know? So I'll do that. And then once it's done, I'll come back and put in the line work. And the line work is pretty much what you see when it's printed. Then I clean it up. And yeah, it's a different process for each one. If I'm working digitally, I just do the same thing. Cause I still actually do my roughs and stuff by pencil, by hand, because I just can't seem to think when the computer's going, like looking at the screen, you know. It's like I consider all the creativity takes place for me on paper and pencil. And then when I move to digital or painting, that's more like just draftsmanship. That's more like just, like conveyor belt work for me. You know, it's like, not that it's like, you know, not that it takes any away from the creativity. It's all the thinking's already done. Now it's just all the tactical stuff needs to be put in, you know, so.
All right, so let's talk about this paint thing again, because revisiting that. One of the best, you know, watercolor artists in the world. Watercolor, people believe, is one of the most difficult mediums to manipulate in art, especially doing comics, as you mentioned, trying to keep that consistency from page to page, right? You mentioned a little earlier that you want to go somewhere else, you know, diverge from painting for a little bit and work more with lines. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Pretty much, I just want to. I get excited when I try new things. Recently, I feel like I haven't been drawing for myself, you know, like, and it's kind of sucks, you know. I haven't really, you know, I've put so much work into work every day. I get in, I draw, and I enjoy it. I enjoy what I do, but I've never really drawn for me recently. And I can tell because I scroll through my Instagram on my my main page, and I can see I'm just like, nowadays I'm just posting work and then food pics. But I scroll back to a few years ago, I was actually drawing for myself. I would do, when I'm done, I just do a midnight sketch and I just post it. And it was just like, you know, it was a lot of fun drawing for myself, and I missed that. And so I want to get back to it. I want to, like, you know, find new ways to do things, find different ways to do things. Cause, you know, you can get stale, you know, like, and if no one else sees it, you see it, you know, like kind of like a lot of times people don't notice. Like they always say art is subjective, this and that, you know. Like because when I look at Robin and Batman issue 1, I look at it, I'm not really happy with it because I feel like I could have done things. But then I get the reviews and people are like, oh, it's amazing, it looks so great, you know. So sometimes you get that imposter syndrome, and you're like, you know, I don't know, they just like it because they, you know, they're trying to be supportive, which is I appreciate, you know. It's like, but at the same time, it's like I feel like I could do better. So I want to try different things, and I want to get that, you know, get to that point where it's like I'm happy with it. So, and I think that's really hard to get. And every book I tried, like Little Monsters, I wanted to do something different. Little Monsters scratched an itch for me. I wanted to work with zip tones, black and white. So that was like yeah. So that's an example of me wanting to try different things, you know. And I'd like to make it work with any script that Jeff wants to do, you know. So our new book with Image we're coming out with, we're diving back into like a science fiction kind of era, kind of like very 80s heavy metal vibe. So yeah, right now I wouldn't say I'm studying it, but I'm looking at a lot of old books again. Going back to old like Corbin, freaking heavy metal magazine again, you know, like John Muth stuff. He's my favorite painter, you know, my favorite kind of this era. So just trying to find that little area that makes me happy when I'm done with it, you know. So, and it's tough because
you're that guy when it comes to watercolors. It's like you and David Mack, and then you know, there's a few others, but you guys are right at the top of the heap.
Man, there's so many good artists now. It's like, I think that's the thing too. Like sometimes I see like, you know, now, you know, with social media and everything, you get to see what's out there. And I started seeing, I'm just like, man, there's some like really good artists out there, some great, amazing watercolor painters. And I look at them sometimes, it just makes me sad. I'm like, this is actually watercolor painting. Like, it made me feel like, okay, I'm just coloring with watercolor. So yeah, there's a lot of amazing artists out there. And, you know, just trying to, you know, sometimes you just kind of try to make sure you stay relevant. You know what I mean? That's the hardest part. So, and, you know, sometimes if you can't do something right, you kind of try to do something else. And sometimes I just feel like maybe if I try a few different things, I'll finally find something that makes me happy, and maybe that'll be mine, you know. So
Dustin, we're on our very last question.
Yeah.
Is there something that we haven't talked about that you want the fans to know about? Any upcoming projects, any upcoming appearances?
I have a store signing tomorrow in San Diego at Kamikaze. Yeah, so I'll be there, and that's pretty much right now we're just looking for to promote Round of Batman, this Jason Todd. I've been working on this for about 1.5 years. This book's actually taken me a lot longer because last year I was just kind of like again trying to try different things, and I spent too much time just doing covers and just trying to find different ways, and I kind of took like a lot of time off to myself last year. But I'm finally done with the book, and now we might announce our next Image book in this fall. But I can say now it's it's me and Jeff again as usual, going for another long run on Image, and this is also Descender's 10-year anniversary. So at San Diego Comic-Con, we're gonna have a really nice 10-year anniversary foil cover issue 1 that's coming out. So it's gonna be limited to, I think, just like 250 copies or something at the San Diego Comic-Con. So if you're a collector, that'd be something to look for, you know. Oh, we're releasing a sketch cover too. So if you grab one of those, bring it by, you know, get yourself a nice little sketch cover commission. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Like, if you have any other questions, you know.
Yeah, I got a bonus question for you right now.
Yeah.
And I forgot to even think about it when we were doing the script. You want 2-time Eisner Award winner. I mean, you started off. You said you were quasi homeless, man. You know, just kind of, living in the cracks of life while you make it happen as an artist, and you go from that to being a multiple Eisner Award winner. What is that like, and does that mean? Does it hold any significance to you?
You know, it does, because it means like the funny thing is, before I got into comics, before I was like living out of my car, I was doing really well. I came from mechanical design, so at 24. I was making close to 6 figures. I was doing 3D design for like aerospace. I was drawing their hangars. I was doing all the stuff for like McDonnell Douglas, Northrop Grumman, Boeing. I was doing like, stuff for contract nut. And then I quit to work at Stanley Media and I took a big cut, but it wasn't that bad. It was down to like maybe, I was like at the time, 45 grand a year, which is decent. You know what I mean? So going from almost 6-figure to 45 grand a year. And then I was like, you know what? I really want to draw comics. So I quit Stanley Media and I went to making about $1,500 a month. That's how much the dip in pay became. And I was like, but I was young. I was like, I kind of thought it through. I was like, this is okay. I don't have a family. I don't have bills. I don't have like crazy debt. I don't have a mortgage or anything, So, but then at the time I made my back then my girlfriend, before she became my wife, she was in school. And so I kind of made a deal with her. I was like, all right, I'm going to quit all this. I'm going to do comics. I'm going to do it. This is the 5-year plan. I'm going to break into comics. Number one, I'm going to get on a monthly book. Monthly book means I can actually have money, so once you break in, just because you break in doesn't mean you stay in, but once you get a monthly book, it helps, And then I'm gonna get on Batman. That was like 3rd on my checklist, you know what I mean? And then I was like, then I can make a living out of this. So I think I would say, even though the awards, like the Eisner, it didn't come with any monetary or anything like that, I mean, it's great. It helps sell books and stuff, For me, it shows that it was worth it to take the risk. You know what I mean? Like I always tell, like people always ask me, like, what do you do? I'm like, what do you do if you want to break in? I'm like, you know what? If you're at a good point in your life and you feel like you can take the risk, take it. But don't take the risk like just to say you took the risk. Don't be an artist just to live in art, just to say you're an artist. You know what I mean? Actually put in the work. Because I have colleagues that also wanted, and they were like, they wanted to draw comics, but I was like, you just wanted to draw in a coffee shop and talk to people and be an artist. You didn't you got to actually put the work in. And I think those awards, they're not really important, but for me, they showed that, hey, it's like, it was worth it to take that chance. And they do help sell books. So one thing I noticed, like in America, we don't seem to we think it's fun and stuff, but like, when I'm over in Italy and France and European, like those over there, dude, when awards are announced on books, they really sell books. Like they're very important to them. You know what I mean? So maybe it's just the American cynical mentality where we're like, fucking needs awards. It's like, it's full of ego, which is how I thought of it. I used to think that. I was like, man, these are dumb. I was like, these are stupid. Then I got one. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, it's like it's kind of like, what's the saying? Like, when people joke about flying first class, like, oh, you get there at the same time, it's like, but then when you actually sit in first class, you're like, this is nice. So it's like that, it's like, you don't need it, but it's fun, So
yeah, Dustin, man, this has been a fantastic interview, man. I just want you to know you always have a home here on Sig Slayers Station, especially after you guys make that announcement. You and Jeff make the announcement in the fall for your new upcoming project. Well, that's all for our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the like button. This is Sig Slayers. I'm Mike, speaking for Mark and Dustin Nguyen. We're out.
Hey, thank you, guys.